Republican Congressman Don Bacon of Nebraska. He's a retired U.S. Air Force Brigadier General. He also serves now on the Armed Services Committee. Thanks so much, Congressman, for joining us. What's your view, first of all, of President Trump's messaging on this war, and specifically his statement that the United States has already just won this war?
I think we've done significant damage to Iran. We've eliminated the top tier of their leadership. We've devastated their Air Force, their Navy, their air defenses. But I still think there's more work to do. We know that the Ayatollah's son is now the new Ayatollah. I hear he's incapacitated, been injured, but we don't have confirmation of that. But they do have command and control still. We see that with the attacks on the tankers. So I think we have more work to do on the command and control of the Iranian leadership. I also think we need a lot of air cover with using drones and stuff, searching for these speedboats and things that are targeting our tankers. But ultimately, the job is not done unless we have regime change. If we stop short of that, then the new leadership will be just as anti-American, anti-Israel as they've always been. They'll conduct terrorism still. They'll still try to produce a nuclear weapon, though those capabilities have been degraded. They can still reconstitute over time. Ultimately, we need a government that represents the people, that wants peace with its neighbors, wants peace with the United States, and does not want a nuclear weapon. We're not there yet.
We've seen some reports that the new leader, the supreme leader, Mujtaba Khamenei, had some foot injuries during the airstrike that eventually wound up killing his father, the former supreme leader. But you say he's incapacitated. Is there evidence that he's incapacitated?
I saw reporting, though it's not confirmed, Wolf, but I heard that he lost a leg and that he was maybe in a coma. But that's a report that I've read. I don't know if it's true. We don't have confirmation. But regardless, the Iranian leadership still is showing command and control by targeting these tanker ships. So there's still commanders in the loop making decisions. And so we still have more work to do. And I got to, I've read Clausewitz, Sun Tzu, Jomini. I served nearly 30 years in the Air Force. No war is easy. It's unpredictable. It's high risk. We have a thinking enemy that's going to do everything in their ability to survive and to take the war to us. And that's why they're attacking their neighbors, attacking the tankers. They're trying to do everything they can to create a crisis that will make us back off. So that we're not done yet. We have a thinking enemy that's going to do everything they possibly can to undermine our efforts. And so we're still in a dead serious game, not game, but a fight here, a war.
Certainly is. I want to play what Alaska Republican Senator Lisa Murkowski said about the Trump administration's handling of this war. Listen to this.
The president says we're almost done, and then we hear from others that, well, it's going to be weeks, maybe months. That the level of fighting is going down, and yet then the next day it seems like the intensity of the strikes is even more than it has been. So I think this is where the American public is following this with a bit of confusion. If you haven't built the case as to why we need to be doing more, it may be a challenge to get the support that you need.
Congressman Bacon, does she have a point? How do you respond to her?
I think she does have a point. The administration didn't do a good job at all of saying why we needed to go to war with Iran. I could have done this. I mean, we've been at war with Iran since 1979. They've killed over 1,000 Americans. They tried to kill the president. They've killed approximately 30 to 50,000 of their own people in the last month or two. This case would have been easy, but I don't think it was made. It wasn't made during the address to Congress. When the president did that 2 weeks ago, he had an opportunity to lay out a better case. There are some mixed messages there. I would say maybe less is better. Keep it simple. Say what's our mission? Why are we doing it? But we don't want to give away our secrets or our plans to the enemy. They're listening. So a simple, clear, unified message from all the layers of the administration would be helpful.
Yeah, he spent about 3 minutes during his lengthy State of the Union address to Congress talking about Iran. On the other side of this debate, South Carolina's Republican Senator Lindsey Graham. Listen and watch what he recently said. Listen to this.
I go back to South Carolina, I'm asking them to send their sons and daughters over to the Mideast. What I want you to do in the Mideast to our friends in Saudi Arabia and other places, step forward and say, this is my fight too. I join America.
You served in combat zones over your many years in the military, and we're thankful for you for your service. But what do you say in response to what we're hearing from Lindsey Graham, and also the $11 billion that the U.S. has already spent during the first 6 days of this war, as well as, of course, even more importantly, the lives of U.S. sons and daughters?
You know, I remember seeing Colonel Graham when I served in Iraq in 2007 and 8 when I was there. Iran has been at war with us. And that's just a fact. They've been killing Americans since 1979. The most egregious one-time incident was the 241 military that were killed at the Beirut barracks. I lost a friend of mine at Khobar Towers in 1996 when the Iranian terrorists killed 19 Americans at that bombing attack. When I served in Iraq, they attacked us every single day in the part of Baghdad that I was in. On a good day, we would get 3 missiles or rockets or mortars that would hit our position. And on bad days, it'd be like 30. And these all came from the Shia militias that were proxy groups of Iran. I think that's what Senator Graham is saying. He's alluding to this. They've been at war with us, and they've been killing approximately 1,000 Americans since the Ayatollah Khomeini came into power in 1979. I don't think we should put boots on the ground in Iran. I don't think most Americans support that. But this is an important fight using our air, our Navy. We lost soldiers, obviously, in Kuwait. Again, we have a thinking enemy. They're going to do everything they can to target Americans right now. And so we're not out of this fight, and we got more work to do before this job is done.
Let me just get a final question to you while we have you, Congressman. Israel's defense minister, Israel Katz, recently warned Lebanon's president that if his military, the Lebanese military, does not crack down on Hezbollah's rocket fire on Israel, and it was a tense overnight, the Israeli military would launch a broader invasion into Lebanon. What is your view of that possible major escalation?
It's always been hard for Israel because the Hezbollah pretty much operate within half of Lebanon, and they've been operating there pretty much with impunity other than Israel strikes. But Lebanon hasn't had the ability to crack down on the Hezbollah. And so now you have a Hezbollah, this has been going on for a long time, firing rockets and missiles in the cities of northern Israel. They are very well trained, trained by the Iranian IRGC. Now, they've also been, I would say, depleted and weakened over the last year with the Israeli strikes on Hezbollah leadership. Obviously, the pagers that exploded and killed or injured many Hezbollah, taken off their hands, sometimes blinding them. So the Israelis have had the upper hand, but this has been a dagger at Israel going back decades, operating with impunity in Lebanon. So I think Israel is right to pressure Lebanon to do more, though I hate to see this war escalate and grow. That's what Iran wants. They want to create a crisis situation that in the end we will back off and their regime then survives.
We'll see what happens. Congressman Don Bacon, as usual, thank you very much for joining us.